And our program guest this morning is the Leader of the Opposition, Tony Abbott. He'll be joining us from Brisbane, but first we'll see what the Sunday papers are covering around the country. And Dennis Atkins' report this morning suggesting that there is some discomfort in the opposition about Tony Abbott's position that he's adopted on the levy.
Yes, there have been a few reports in the last few days, and there's another one in the Sun Herald this morning. I'm not actually convinced that there is much criticism of the levy itself, but I think there is some criticism within the coalition of some of the things Tony Abbott's done. I think his speech to the young Liberals didn't go down too well. It was seen as too political by more than half, and also that the donations tag on the end of his message on the internet, that didn't go down too well either.
Nikki Saba, welcome to Insiders. Welcome to the couch. What's your take on this? Do you think there is some discomfort?
Look, I hear that at the Shadow Cabinet meeting on Friday where they discussed this, where there are quite a few Queenslanders who are obviously directly affected, there was not a single murmur against the levy. And in fact, Abbott was congratulated on his stand against it. So generally, I think within the coalition there is very strong support for the levy. But
Lenore,
there are these other quibbles on the side.
Certainly until the last few days that would have been the case, Lenore.
I think some people in the Liberal Party are wondering whether this is sort of the peak of Tony Abbott's ability to capitalise on the government's problems in its first term and the public's mistrust of the government. You know, he's banking on people not wanting to trust this government with any more money, and if he loses that argument, which he well may, I think there's a strong sort of feeling in his party that he should nuance his arguments a bit more.
OK, we'll talk about this more once we've heard from Tony Abbott, but there's an election coming up, one for the ages in New South Wales. Nikki, the Premier, has had her first shot in the campaign.
Yes, and according to the paper today, the Sun Herald, the ad says, quoting Ms Keneally, she understands the government was too focused on itself and not focused enough on you, the people. It went off track and I'm sorry, but somehow I don't think sorry's going to cut it in this instance.
Kind of late for the apology.
A bit late, too little, too late, yes, definitely.
The last time we heard a leader say that a government had lost its way, that didn't work too well.
No, I don't think there's much forgiveness out there.
I can't remember the last time a party started an election campaign with sorry, but Lenore, also the prospect of, well, perhaps the reality of defeat is creating some really strange behaviour.
That's right. Jodi McKay, the New South Wales Minister for Tourism, it's reported in the Sunday Telegraph, has written to her counterpart asking him to reverse a decision that her Labor government has made, closing a disability facility in her electorate when the coalition wins government. Now, apart from the fact that you're meant to go into an election campaign at least pretending like you think you might be able to win, it doesn't show great faith in her own government's policy decisions. And the bit I like best is that this disability plan is called Stronger Together, but I think in New South Wales Labor at the moment it's every man and woman for herself.
And on that, every man and woman for themselves. Carmel Tebbit, have a look at this poster, which I think pretty much tells the story. And it's not Keep Carmel. That's all it is, Keep Carmel, and I think there's a Keep Verity one out there. I think others are doing it. They're sort of saying, I guess, that whatever you think of the government and the party, just take care of me, please. Bob Hawke entered the fray yesterday, and he told the party that, well, you'd be foolish to think you can win. The aim is to win as many seats as possible, and he said this in support of the sitting member for Kogarah.
Some are lazy, useless bastards. Others, just work themselves to the bone.
There you go.
This could be the truth-telling election. It could be something completely different.
It's starting to sound that way. And Dennis, Mark Latham has been condemned by all sides for something that he has said or written about Julia Gillard.
Yes, he's got a column in The Spectator where he's had a go at Julia Gillard, saying that she's not a naturally empathetic person, and he puts this down to the fact that she doesn't have any children. Now, most people wouldn't regard Mark Latham as sort of the go-to guy for empathy, and I think the fact that she has been criticised all around, and even the Sun Herald points out that Mother Teresa, Florence Nightingale and Mary MacKillop, none of them had children, so that takes a bit of wind out of his sails, I think.
And Barnaby Joyce, this is what Barnaby is quoted as saying: "It is absurd and cruel in the extreme to think that a person who doesn't have kids is a less deserving human being or has less capacity to love." I've thought for a long time that Barnaby ought to be the shadow spokesman on women's affairs. And
do you think we're getting to the point where we stop listening to Mark Latham? Surely we must be getting close to the point where we don't pay attention to him anymore.
Oh, I don't think so. I think it'll just go on and on and on.
Well, it will go on and on, but I think in the language of Twitter, epic fail, Mark.